Shams reports that Jaylen Brown has just been traded to the Philadelphia 76ers for Paul George and draft picks. Now, my initial reaction is, can't be real, right? So then I go and check the page out just to double check to make sure. Shams Charania, 3.9 million followers. This is him, for real. Then I come down here, I see the Boston Celtics have agreed to trade Jaylen Brown to the Philadelphia 76ers for Paul George, 2 first-round picks and 2 second-round picks. I'm thinking there's got to be more to this deal. There's got to be something more, and there is. Okay, 28 first-round pick that could convert from a first to a swap that is more favorable to Boston. 2031 unprotected Philadelphia first. 2028 second round, most favorable between the Warriors, Thunder, and Bucks. Okay, 2030 second most favorable between Washington, Portland, and Phoenix. So all of those details for Jaylen Brown going from the Celtics to the 76ers. I missed the part where they were getting Tyrese Maxey in return. I missed the part where they were getting VJ Edgecombe in return, Joel Embiid, maybe somebody of consequence. I don't know if Boston really thought this through. Now, let's go back. Okay, let's trace our steps. Jaylen Brown, and this is documented. Jaylen Brown over the past, I don't know how many years, whatever, is the winningest player in the league. He's a finals MVP. He's a conference finals MVP. He was top 5 in the top 6 in the MVP voting this past season. NBA second team. He's an all-star. He's one of the best, and the conversation could be made, whether it's him, Anthony Edwards, or whatever, who's the best two-way defender or two-way player in the entire NBA. And you don't get a star of his magnitude in his place. Paul George is over the hill. Okay, let's be frank. Paul George is over that hill. He's not Indiana PG. He's not the first time he stepped foot in a Clippers uniform PG. Paul George has been through some trials and tribulations as far as the injury report goes. That's not the same guy that you just got. So you forego all of that. This doesn't make sense. Okay, and we got to talk about it. We got to talk about the day after the season. If it didn't bother them when Jaylen Brown went on his podcast, went on his Twitch stream, and said it was his favorite season, no Jason Tatum and all that other stuff. If they didn't have a problem with that, this wouldn't happen. If there wasn't an issue with him and Jason Tatum, that wouldn't have happened. And now everybody's going to be pointing the finger talking about, hey, Paul George, Jason Tatum, is there a rift there? We haven't heard Jason Tatum come out to his defense yet. We haven't heard anything of that magnitude from any of his teammates coming to Jaylen Brown's defense. So that tells me there has to be something there. And look, we all want to point fingers at Stephen A. Smith about how his reporting and all this other stuff and how this stuff isn't factual and how he's just making up narratives. This is what happens. This is what happens when there's something that we don't know. Now, look, me and Tommy, we was talking about this in the stream. All right, we was talking about how simply they probably just don't like Jaylen Brown because he's intelligent, he articulates himself, and all those other things. He's going against his grain. He's marching to the beat of his own drum. We get that. We fully understand that. But to go and make a deal like this, now I had a deal that I came up with, okay? Let's see. This is just making no sense. I had a deal that I came up with. And it was a 4-team trade, obviously just making stuff up as I go, right? 4-team trade. Jaylen Brown could end up in Houston. If you look at, Boston, they would get Fred VanVleet, Scoot Henderson, Dorian Finney-Smith, 2 first-round picks, 2 first-round picks from Portland, 2 second-round picks from Houston, a pick swap from Portland, right? Houston, you would get Jaylen Brown. Then Portland, you would get Jabari Smith, Nikola Jovic, second-round pick from Houston, and Miami get cash considerations. Something of that magnitude, okay? You get a young player in there. You get somebody that can play 3 and D that you can use in your rotation and you get another ball handler and shooter involved. You don't do any of that. You're banking on the fact that Paul George is going to be able to help you in the long run. If that's not what you're banking on, you're probably thinking maybe you can flip him come July 6th. By that time, you can move off of him. I don't know what the line of thinking is for Boston. You did not have to make this trade. This was not a situation where your hands were tied and you had absolutely no choice. If it comes out that Jaylen Brown, in fact, did ask for a trade, that's a different conversation. This is not one of those situations when you look at Miami reloading, when you look at Toronto reloading, looking at the New York Knicks, they're ready to come back again and go get another one. You look at who else? Cleveland's trying to make moves. Everybody is trying to position themselves right now for what's next. Washington, they could come back and be phenomenal next year. Atlanta, they can build upon what they had last year. LeBron has not made his decision on where he is going to play basketball next year. This is what you do. Now, we also got to talk about that because LeBron came out and said he's willing to take the minimum. Okay, if LeBron's willing to take the vet minimum, you have Jaylen Brown, you have Joel Embiid, you have Maxey, you have VJ Edgecombe. I'm LeBron. I'm like, hey, man, Philly seems kind of nice. I don't know what their financial situation is, but I'm just saying that. The reason I'm saying it is Boston doesn't know the consequences, obviously, of the other side of this deal. They just made a deal just to make it. They just made a deal to get rid of him. You're not getting anything in return. What I want to see for a Jaylen Brown caliber player, a guy that averaged 28 points, 8 rebounds, 5 or 6 assists last year, All-Star, second team All-NBA, MVP voting top 6, a guy who was top 5, top 2, top 3 for the majority of the season. What I want to see in return from that guy is somebody of the caliber of Amin Thompson. And I said in the stream, I said there's players like SGA, Anthony Edwards, Nikola Jokic, Giannis Antetokounmpo. Those are the only type of players I would trade Jaylen Brown for. There's maybe 2 or 3 others, but that's it. Jaylen Brown is a certified top 10 player in the NBA, and this is how you reward a guy who has done everything you asked him to. Whether it was coming off the bench when Kyrie and Gordon got there, whether it was coming off the bench again when they came back into the fold, whether it was be the second fiddle because we just drafted a guy that plays your same position, take a backseat to Jason Tatum, be Robin to his Batman. Even though you're the better defender, we're probably not going to appreciate you that much. There's a lot of situations that's going to take place over the course of your career that we're not going to look at Jason Tatum for. We're going to blame you. We're not going to talk about how Jaylen Brown, without Al Horford, Porzingis, Drew Holiday, and Jason Tatum, led this team to a 56-26 record and second seed in the Eastern Conference. We're not going to have that conversation. But you're just going to point the finger at them when you guys lose 3-1. But you're not going to praise them for how you even got up to that point and y'all was dominating throughout the regular season without 4 of your championship core members. This is how you reward them. I don't know how Boston recovers from this. If you don't plan on moving Paul George and you keep him, whatever, cool. I really don't know what's going on. This is what he was saying. This is what Shams is saying apparently about the deal.
Sources tell me the Boston Celtics have traded All-NBA star 2024 Finals MVP Jaylen Brown to the Philadelphia 76ers for Paul George, 2 first-round picks, and 2 second-round picks. So
why is he yelling?
Think about it if you're Philadelphia. To get Jaylen Brown in the prime of his career at 30 years old for a player in Paul George who has been looked at different points as a negative contract, you are sending out 2 future first-round picks. You're sending out a couple second-round assets. But now you have Tyrese Maxey, VJ Edgecombe, Jaylen Brown, and the way Jaylen Brown has been playing, you would think he has multiple years, 3, 4, 5, 6 years.
And you still have Joel Embiid.
Pair that with a young Tyrese Maxey. Pair that with a young VJ Edgecombe. And for the Celtics, where this had come down to is they
just signed Dean Wade. They let Kelly Oubre walk earlier today. He ended up in Indiana, and you still got Listen, Joel Embiid can play sparingly. I'll give him 50 games, right? He can play 50 games. And Jaylen Brown, Tyrese Maxey, and VJ Edgecombe, 1, 2, and 3 have formed one of the scariest backcourt wing tandems in the entire NBA. I don't even care who's on the list. I don't even care what other teams you have an opinion about that could be included in this conversation. The Philadelphia 76ers are now scarier than the Toronto Raptors. They're scarier than New York. I don't care what anybody says. They're scarier than New York. If you don't think Tyrese Maxey, VJ with Jaylen Brown can go up against Jalen Brunson, Mikal Bridges, and OG Anunoby, don't even talk basketball with me. Don't even have that conversation with me. Philly is a guaranteed home court advantage if they figure out how to play together and they play fast and they get quality looks, which Jaylen Brown can shoot a high percentage. Maxey can be efficient. VJ Edgecombe is going to be allowed to be even more efficient. Come on, man. Let me know in the comments how y'all feel about this. Jaylen Brown to the Philadelphia 76ers for Paul George, picks, and a bag of chips. That's one more for the good guys, man.